Mom told me about you. You yell at my mother to cook while I'm gone, mess with her cleaning, and are being mean with her every day. When I came home from work, my husband, Yusuf, suddenly got angry with me. He even told me that I had put laxatives in my mother-in-law, Barb's food. No matter how much I hated Barb and Yusuf, I would never do such a thing. Most of all because I was desperate every day not to be angry with them. Get out of my house right now. Go back to your parents' house and cool your head. And he closed the door vigorously. What was even more frightening was that I could see Barb behind Yusuf, smiling wanly. Yes. Barb had told Yusuf false information, and Yusuf, who believed it, had snapped at me. At last I heard something inside me snap. After this, Barb would regret the unimaginable. My name is Ruby. I'm 30 years old, currently working as a fashion designer. When I was a little girl, my grandmother made a dress for me. I fell in love with clothes. I remember I loved my grandmother's handmade dresses so much I kept wearing it until it fell apart. After graduating from high school, I went to a fashion school and started working as a fashion designer when I was 20 years old. The job of a fashion designer was very busy, and I worked until I was exhausted every day. But I loved the moment when the clothes I designed were put on the store shelves and handed to someone. I worked so hard that I forgot to fall in love. I wanted to get married by the time I was 30. But when I was 28 I was getting impatient and went to a marriage activity party. There I met my current husband, Yusuf. We have been married for 6 months. We both work, so we share the household chores, and I think it was smooth sailing. However, recently, Barb has been pressuring me to move in with her. Even on this day. Hello, Ruby? It's about time you guys got married and settled down, isn't it? Why don't I move in with you and we can live together? I can't decide right away, so I'll talk it over with Yusuf and get back to you. Normally, you wouldn't refuse your mother-in-law's request. What a jerk. She hung up on me. I didn't dislike Barb, but she was being sarcastic with me, just like today. She is very sarcastic and has a hard time with me. So I was worried that we might not get along well after moving in together. I had only been living with Yusuf for 6 months, and I wanted to have some time alone with him. I asked Yusuf to tell Barb that I did not want to live with her. However, Yusuf said, but my mom is 58 years old now, and I'm worried about leaving her alone. But Barb is a bit hit and miss with me. I'm a little scared, to be honest. I told Yusuf with a fearful, anxious look on my face. Afraid of my mother? No, I'm not afraid of you. Mom was always kind to me. You worry a little too much. He did not listen to my complaint. There is a reason why Yusuf has not been able to get rid of his mother so far. Barb divorced her husband when Yusuf was only 4 years old after he was found to be having an affair. She became a single mother. She raised her only son, Yusuf, by herself. Therefore, Yusuf has been living with his mother since he was a child. Even now, at the age of 32, he is still very close to his mother. The next day, after work, I came home to find Barb there. Barb? I looked at Barb in surprise. Barb acted as if it was normal for her to be at my house. Oh, Ruby, you're home late. She was sitting on the couch, glaring at me. Well? Why Barb, how did you get in here? I was puzzled. Yusuf gave me a key. When I was puzzled as to why he didn't consult me, Barb continued. And you're still working without even have kids. Why don't you do your wife's job for a minute? I would love to have kids if I could. But children are a gift. It is not easy to have a child just because you want one. I'm sorry. I like my job, so I don't intend to quit. I don't neglect my housework. Besides, we want to have children. But it's a gift, so we think it's not the right time yet. I'm going to think it wasn't the right time yet. What the hell, you've got a husband. You should be a housewife to support Yusuf. Besides, you say you have a child at the right time? What's wrong with you? She cursed me with irresponsible words, without considering my feelings at all. As I was thinking about what I was going to say, I heard the front door open. Click. I'm home. Oh, Mom, you're here. What's the matter, all of a sudden? I thought I'd come live with you and bring all my stuff with me. She smiled. I was stunned. I couldn't believe that she was doing that. I can't believe she's moving in with us without permission. I had told Yusuf that I didn't want to do that. I looked at Yusuf as if asking for help. But Yusuf turned away from me. Is that so? Okay, I'll do it. Let's do that. I was thinking that would be better for me too. He said in surprise. I grabbed Yusuf's arm, but he immediately shook it off. Thus, halfway through the day, Barb and I were forced to live together. That night, in the bedroom, I asked Yusuf, "Hey, why are you making these decisions on your own? I told you I didn't want to live with you. You are really cold. I've explained to you how much my mother has helped me in my life. You should understand me a little." He meditated a little grimly and ended his conversation with me. I was so worried about the future that I cried that night, wetting my pillow so Yusuf wouldn't find out. The next day, when I got home from work again. "Ruby, hurry up and make me dinner. I'm hungry." And rushing me. I replied in a quiet voice, "Yes." And started to cook dinner for Barb and Yusuf. Yusuf came home, too, but he didn't seem to notice that I was being used like a housekeeper by Barb. I would come home tired from work, hurry to cook a meal, wash the dishes, and do the laundry. After that, I have to clean the house. The situation was so painful that I finally cried in front of Yusuf that day. It's just one day, and now this. I really can't do this with you. I told him in tears, but Yusuf. Hey, what are you crying about? I guess you are still not used to living together. Let's get along better from now on. He was a little flustered. But Yusuf made his words muddled. Ruby, if you love me, you should care about the people I care about too. I was dismayed and persuaded. Saddened by Yusuf's inability to communicate with me, I cried until I fell asleep that day. After that, staying at home became more and more painful. I felt much more at ease at work than at home. At work, my coworkers were surprised and worried about my changing appearance due to stress. But with Yusuf and Barb, who should have been watching me closest and daily, never noticed any change in me. I no longer cared what happened to me, and I did what I was told to do to improve the mood of Yusuf and Barb. I did as I was told, like a puppet. Barb kept saying to me, "Quit your job as soon as possible, have a baby as soon as possible, you stupid wife." She kept cursing me. While I was being yelled at like that, Yusuf was watching TV and laughing hysterically. He was completely oblivious to me. I want to have a child, too. I am still undergoing fertility treatment. But they can't find the cause and the treatment is not progressing. I told Barb about that, too. You're really useless. She cursed me even more. I didn't think anything of it, as if my emotions had gone somewhere with those words. No matter what was said. Yes. I'm sorry. I kept apologizing every day. Such days continued for about 2 months. However, those painful and unbearable days suddenly came to an end. One day, when I came home, Yusuf greeted me with a bloodthirsty look on his face and his arms folded. What? What's wrong? What do you mean what's wrong? He yelled at me. I didn't understand. I didn't mean to offend Yusuf. I don't know what you are talking about. My mother told me. You yelled at my mother to cook while I was gone. You pick on her cleaning, and you are mean to her every day. It took me a while to understand what he was talking about. But Barb, who was hiding behind me, smiled with a wry grin. That's what he meant. I realized the situation. Yes, Barb had told Yusuf a lie that never happened, and Yusuf had believed it. I didn't do that. I said, but Yusuf interrupted my statement as if to say. Besides, last time you put laxatives or something in Mom's food. Mom was suffering so much from abdominal pain. I was speechless with dismay. I would never have put laxatives in Barb's food. I have never asked Barb to cook for me, nor has she ever cleaned or done anything for me. I would never ask Barb to cook for me, because it would only make her angry and useless. He sees her cursing me every day like that. I was first surprised that Yusuf believed Barb and not me. I told you many times to take care of my mother, but you are an asshole. Now get out. Go back to your parents' house and be sorry. He gets angry with me. You're such a terrible wife. I had a really bad stomach ache. Anyway, I don't even want to see you for a while. I was told. I managed to excuse myself, but my belongings were packed and the bag was thrown outside the front door and... Suddenly the door was closed with great force. Why doesn't Yusuf take care of me? I had appealed to Yusuf so many times. I can't believe Barb's lies. I went back to my parents' house in tears. When I returned to my parents' house, they were quite shocked to see my changed appearance. I didn't realize it myself, but during the 2 months I had spent with Barb, I had developed hair loss in the form of ringlets. I had lost a lot of weight, my makeup was gone, and I had aged drastically. By all accounts, I looked far removed from a fashion designer. When I explained the situation to my parents, "You did your best. There is nothing wrong with you. It's going to be okay." And they hugged me. I would never have let you get married if I had to do this. My mother cried with me. You don't have to go back to that house. You've worked hard enough. You don't have to work hard for those people anymore. I felt like a weight was finally lifted off my shoulders. I cried all day until my voice ran dry. My parents suggested that I stay with them for a while until things settled down. I decided to stay at my parents' house instead of going home. Unlike my own home, my parents' house was a place where I really felt at home. Yusuf messaged me several times. Have you reflected on what you did? Do you swear you can take care of my mother from now on? But I ignored all of them unread. Then, the next one was. Why don't you reply back? You're watching me, right? Because mom is kind. She says she is not angry anymore. And so on. I ignored these unread, too, of course. A few months later, I decided to go home to my own house for the first time in a while. Yusuf found out that I had returned and came running to me. You are finally home. You've been sulking for a long time. Have you reflected on that? He asked me teasingly. Barb joins in. You're back real slow. Have you finally gotten your head out of your ass? It seems it takes you a while to even reflect on what you did. She started to tease me. But I was unfazed now. With a calm face. Yes, I've been reflecting on things. I am finally cooled down. Please sign and seal here. I handed him a piece of paper. Seeing the paper, Barb and Yusuf were so surprised that they could not speak, and their faces turned pale. Yes, that's right. The paper I gave them was a divorce decree. What a joke. It's not funny. Yusuf asks me in a panic. I'm not kidding. I told you my head was cold. I finally realized how stupid I was to put myself out there for you people who don't care about me. I told him with a fresh face. Oh, calm down. I'm not saying I want a divorce. She seemed quite confused. No, nothing you say will change my mind. You don't have to be so angry. Look, I'm not angry anymore. Don't be so unfaithful, just get in there. She yelled at me as usual. And Yusuf too. Yes, she is right, I don't sign. Besides, it was your fault to begin with. Because you say horrible things to my mother and do horrible things to her. What are you talking about? That it's a terrible thing? Why don't you question Barb again? I looked at Barb's face and she seemed very upset. Perhaps she did not want Yusuf to know. But... I swear, I didn't put any laxatives in her and I wouldn't curse Barb out. It was your mother who did it. That can't be true. Mom is a kind person. You are wrong about my mother on her own. he said as usual, not thinking about me. Seeing Yusuf like that made me. Huh. I sighed. It's a waste of time for me to be with you guys. Please write the divorce papers as soon as possible. I told him and shut out unnecessary conversation. I realized that this person still didn't realize that Barb was lying. I felt sorry for Yusuf, who was beyond sad and believed only in his mother. Yusuf, I can swear to Barb that I haven't done anything terrible. And don't get me wrong. I don't like you at all anymore. I'm divorcing you. I don't want to come back at all. I told him, handing him the divorce papers. Anyway, write it down and send it back to me as soon as you can. I'll take care of the rest. I don't have any more time for you. I closed the door with a loud bang. Just before I closed the door, I saw Barb's pale face as she said, "What have I done?" I could see her head in her hands. A few days later, the divorce papers were not returned. My father went all the way to Yusuf's house to pick them up. "Yusuf, let's get your seal stamped on the divorce papers as soon as possible." "Oh. I'm sorry too, so I can't get a divorce," Yusuf said to my father. He was trying to beg my father, but his father looked at him calmly and said, "It's no use. Please write it down as soon as possible." What did Barb say? "I'm sorry about this. Could you please tell Ruby to come back? She's not a child anymore." And she asked for my father's sympathy, but my father gave Barb a sharp glare and said, "Ruby didn't do anything. You did something, didn't you?" And he looked at Barb. He said that Barb was quite deflated at the sight of my father. And seeing my father like that, he finally gave up. Yusuf wrote his signature and stamped his seal. With my father's cooperation, the divorce papers were finally submitted to the city office and the divorce was finalized. I was now free. Although I was divorced, I realized once again how much I had enjoyed being immersed in my beloved clothing business and not worrying about anything else. Because of this, I have a feeling that work will be my lover again for the foreseeable future. Most of all, when I was living with Barb, the walk home after work was very painful. Now, the moment when I happily finish work and go home to drink a beer by myself is the moment I look forward to the most. After that, I heard from an acquaintance that Yusuf has been going to marriage activity parties to look for a marriage partner again. He really never learns, does he? I wonder if there will be another victim who will become Barb's housekeeper. I feel sorry for him. However, I heard that he can't find a partner easily. Yusuf, in his self-introduction, says he wants someone who can live with his mother. Besides, he is divorced and has an arrogant personality. He is just a small businessman and his annual income is not so high. It would still be difficult to meet the right person. Also, because I was a fashion designer, my income was considerably higher than Yusuf's. Barb and Yusuf were dependent on my salary. Because of my disappearance, the family's finances suddenly became difficult. They are now living in a house covered in dust. As for me, my personal life has become less stressful. My work is going very well and I got a promotion this year. I am now an independent woman. I met a younger man through an acquaintance and we are currently dating. That man, even when I told him I had a history of divorce. That has nothing to do with it. Why does it not matter? I asked. That means you have experienced so many things. He said that to me with what a snarky smile on his face. I love such a positive, cute boyfriend. We decided to start living together for the time being, but I have told him that I don't want to live with in-laws. What do you think of this story? Please subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.